Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and spending some time with me. Always grateful to have you guys around here. And today, guys, I got one of those videos that I don't like doing videos like this, but I told you a couple years ago that I'm leading the charge against this technology in fishing. And I'm going to call it out. Every time something comes up, I'm not going to let it lie. I refuse to normalize it, and I'm going to keep you guys abreast of what is going on in this ongoing fight to get technology and the destructive technology that's entered bass fishing with Livescope and forward-facing sonar and everything that's on the horizon. I'm going to call it out every time I see it. And today's video, what I want to talk about is the increasing number of Livescope fanboys that are getting very vitriolic, especially on, Instagram and podcasts and that type of stuff, against the people that are on the right side of history and doing the right thing and fighting a good fight to have this, destructive technology removed from fishing. So I want to call that out a little bit today in the video and sort of talk about something that's been coming up quite a bit, especially over the last couple of weeks. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick invitation. I'd like to invite everybody to please consider subscribing here at Intuitive Angling, subscribing to the videos, liking the videos, sharing the videos. Good way to support the channel. Right now, we've only got 30-some% of the people that watch the videos are subscribed, so that's a good way to help out. And guys, also, if you want to go to the next level with Intuitive Angling, you can become an Intuitive Angling channel member. Channel members get extra videos every week that aren't seen by the public, private videos, some access to my email address for your fishing questions. So if you're interested, just go to my homepage and click on membership, or there's a join button, get you all the information for that. Okay, I wanted to do this because first of all, I don't watch very many YouTube channels. The only channels that I really watch in YouTube is I watch Aspiring Tournament Angler Chris Johnson, Fish the Moment, Matt Steffen Fishing, Old School Bass Fishing with Dale Verts, some channels like that, less than 5 or 6 channels. So a lot of this stuff that comes up, I don't know about it until my subscribers send me the videos and links to it, because this is what's happened, guys, because, one of the things about, my viewers that I love and just respect is I've got an army of people that have my back on this whole forward-facing sonar fight. So, I'm talking about an army, tens of thousands of people. So anytime something like this comes up, they usually forward me something. And I have been getting numerous little clips from video clips and that type of stuff over the past couple weeks about people, these Livescope bros, Livescope fanboys, that type of thing, that are they're pissed off because they can see the writing on the wall. They can see the movement against forward-facing sonar, and, they don't know what to do about it, because so many of these guys, their success in bass fishing on every metric you can measure it by is because of technology. If you remove that technology away from them, I'm not saying they're just going to stop catching fish, but they actually have to go to work, and they have to go through the learning process and understanding seasonal movements and bass positioning and bass mood and behavior and seasonal patterns. They actually have to go through that process. It takes a long time. So there's a laziness factor that is attached to forward-facing sonar and technology that cuts that learning curve down, and at the same time just really disgraces and insults the sport and the bass and the people that use it. So we've seen this uptick and rise in this vitriolic, hateful rhetoric against people like myself and anybody out there that stands up against forward-facing sonar. It's on the rise right now. So anyway, here's a couple thoughts that I want to get on this. First of all, let me equate this to something, sort of, what I'm talking about as far as how these people, these bros, quote, don't get it, in the fact that, let's relate it to real estate developers, especially developers that are building housing developments. Okay, now here is what I'm talking about, the concept that most people can get in their mind, but there's a segment of people that cannot understand this. It just doesn't register to them. If you have an unchecked system that allows real estate developers to develop at will, and they're in cahoots with the zoning and planning commissions, which most of them are, and they go around and they buy off these 50, 100, 200, 500 acres of prime wildlife habitat, that, you know, areas that have a diversity to cover, water access and that type of stuff. And they purchase these, you know, wildlife sanctuary type areas and build housing developments there, completely destroy the habitat. Eventually, after a period of time, you can see what the result is that's going to be. If you, just like here around my house, guys, there's been close to 400 acres of property bought up, you know, prime wildlife habitat around my house here, within a mile of my house, by real estate developers that are going in there right now and putting in these giant housing complexes, destroying the habitat. Okay, now you take this, let's say, for example, you take this rate of development, and we'll put 100 years on it, you know, and then the fact that it's happening everywhere. It's happening in your hometown. You guys know what I'm talking about. Every hometown. It doesn't take an Einstein to see that that is unsustainable. That type of growth is unsustainable. So instead of doing the right thing, and when these real estate developers come into an area and they apply for a permit, instead of somebody doing the right thing and standing up and say, no, you're not going to do that. This is a prime piece of wildlife habitat that these creatures need. And you're not going to displace, you know, a huge population of wildlife just so you can make a buck. If you want your housing development, here's some other options. Here's some options right here that are not going to be destructive to wildlife habitat, not going to be destructive to development. You're more than welcome to build your houses here. That is one thing I'm talking about. You can relate to this whole Livescope forward-facing sonar, is the long-term ramifications of this advancing technology. People do not understand the destructive impact that that's going to have on the future of the sport, because right now, you know, we have forward-facing sonar, and that forward-facing sonar is being perfected and it's being modified and it's being improved every single year. And the people that run these electronic companies, the R&D departments, they are working their butt off to develop the next best thing to sell product. And that technology, especially with the whole AI technology that we have right now, it's increasing and increasing because we don't have any checks on that. So eventually, once this technology starts advancing beyond where it is right now, it doesn't take, again, an Einstein, the same way I equated that to the real estate developers, to see this is unsustainable. If you create a population of bass anglers that have these tools available to them that literally offers no hiding place to the fish whatsoever, no hiding place, and then more and more people use it, more and more people implement it, it's not a stretch of the imagination to understand that's not sustainable to our fisheries. And I can tell you something right now, guys, do not rely on the conservation departments to bail us out on this. The conservation departments on this whole topic of forward-facing sonar are dragging their feet. I'm literally disgusted by the lack of awareness that the conservation departments have right now. They could shut it down right now. They could have a sign on every lake and they could say forward-facing sonar is not allowed on this lake because it is not fair chase. You know, that's all they have to do. So the problem you have right now, it's just like with the developers and the zoning and planning commissions and the city councils. They're all in cahoot because it's just greed and power. It's the same that we have right now in the bass fishing community, that nobody is an adult in the room. It's like we've got Bassmaster and MLF that they see the outrage. They see the outrage against this technology, but at the same time, they're beholden to the electronic companies. They don't want to alienate those dollars. So they're in a tough position. It's like, okay, do we piss our constituents off? Do we piss our supporters off? And do we cater to this vocal minority of bros out there that are attached by their umbilical cord to their Livescope and have a chance of losing our sponsorships from the electronic companies? So that's why you're seeing these half measures right now. You're seeing these use it in one period, don't use it in the other period. You can only have a certain type of transducer, and you can only have so many transducers. They're trying to play this half-ass meet in the middle type of thing that doesn't work. There is zero redeeming qualities about forward-facing sonar technology in the sport of fishing. I can list 50 different things how it's destructive to our sport on tons of different levels. And there's not one single thing out there that anybody can say that's positive about forward-facing sonar, except that it makes lazy bass anglers not have to work so hard, and they don't have to put in the dirt time to catch fish. That's all it is to it. There's nothing else to that. We are creating this generation of bass anglers out there that are completely disconnected from the reality of the sport. And that is empowered by a vocal minority. It's the same in politics, guys. The vocal minority, the power brokers, the vocal minority control politics, whether it be gerrymandering, political districts, whether it be, lobbyists, special interest group. It's the same bullshit. Money corrupts everything. And that's what we're seeing in bass fishing right now. Money corrupts the integrity of bass fishing with this forward-facing sonar, because I can assure you guys, if there was no money to be made whatsoever with forward-facing sonar, if the electronic companies didn't have anything to do with the tournament organizations, you would have seen forward-facing sonar made illegal 5 years ago in the tournaments. Same with the Alabama rig, same with not being able to carry gas in your boat, same with not being able to get out of your boat to push it over a sandbar. All those rules are in place because they don't make any money for the tournament organizations, even though it may or may not be the right thing. But when you take a topic like forward-facing sonar, that is the single biggest destructive element this sport has ever seen, and has degraded this sport down to a level where it's not even recognizable anymore. As long as the money's there, that's the only reason we're having to deal with this stuff. And another thing about this, one of the things that I've seen about this whole this whole group of these Livescope bros I'm talking about, is the unbelievable disrespect that they have towards the older anglers. Now, here's the thing about it. It's like I have never said anything bad about the anglers that use forward-facing sonar. I don't care if they're 15 years old or 100 years old. I have put the blame 100% on Bassmaster and MLF, because if Bassmaster and MLF would have banned forward-facing sonar 5 years ago, we wouldn't have this conversation right now. Bass fishing would still be as great as it ever was. So the blame goes on the tournament organizations. The anglers, again, if you're a 20-year-old flat brimmer, you've been put in a position by the tournament organizations that you have to learn this, because if you don't, you can't compete. So I have never said, and I'm never saying anything bad about the anglers that have been forced to use it. Now, I applaud the anglers out there that have the vision and foresight to understand that it's destructive, and there are a lot of them out there. But don't make no mistake about it, guys. The blame on this lies completely on the tournament organizations and the conservation departments. So one thing that I want to leave this here, it's like a lot of these dudes out there that think that I suck and I'm the worst dude on the planet, and I'm this old washed up old geezer, and anybody that doesn't like forward-facing sonar doesn't know what they're doing, and they're too stupid to use it, and they don't want to keep up with the times. The most successful civilizations that have ever existed on this country have been the Native American Indians. They were on this continent here for 30,000 years before the white man took it away from them, through this stupid genocide from the 1800s, what we did to the Indians. But the hierarchy and the power structure within all the tribal communities, the top power structure, the top level of wisdom was from the elders. They put that, and they realized that the elders, the people that were older, they knew more than anyone else, because they've lived it, they've been there, they've done that, they've got life experiences they can relate to. They were put in charge because they know what they were doing. And that is one of the things that I have seen as far as the tremendous amount of disrespect from these Livescope bros out there is basically this ageism that they are implementing on people that are against forward-facing sonar. It has nothing to do with age, guys. This entire movement and this entire fight against forward-facing sonar lies on doing the right thing. It relies on, maintaining the integrity and the ethics of the sport, the sustainability of the sport, the heritage, and, the mystery and the magic of the sport. That is what it rides on. So never normalize this, guys. Never stop fighting the good fight. And that's what we're in, man. I hate to say it, but we are in a fight against this, against money. That's all it is. And I'll say it once again, guys, money corrupts everything. And trace it back to the money. And you can trace everything about forward-facing sonar back to money. And that's why you've seen the problems that we have in our sport right now. So anyway, guys, hope you're well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk later.